Hello and welcome to Astranti's Industry Analysis for the SCS exam. Today we will be looking at the health and fitness club industry in which Royals Gyms operates. Throughout this document we will be looking at the history of the industry, the different types of gyms there are. We'll be looking at customers and marketing within the health and fitness club industry. We'll also be looking at the ways in which gyms are outfitted and how they expand their brand. We'll also be looking at stakeholders, competitors, and industry trends and issues before concluding with 25 industry examples. Now, before we begin, let me first clarify the use of this document. My aim is to give you an excellent understanding of the pre-seen industry in which Royals operates, so that you can give logical business advice as if you were an employee working in that industry. The better you are at applying real-world issues to the pre-seen, the more likely you are to pass the exam. Now, I must make it clear that I will not be covering everything in this document in this video. Instead, I will be drawing out those key points that I believe will be of the most use to you in the exam. Now that's out the way, let's move on to looking at the history of the health and fitness club industry. Now, this history section is one of those where it's probably not going to get you any extra marks, but it's useful in that it provides contextualization for everything that happens later on in the industry. The gym industry itself has only been around for, say, 150 or so years, and that is because fitness was never a particularly big issue for us, especially our ancestors. Cavemen never really had to worry about fitness. They had to be in peak physical condition in order to survive. They'd spend their days escaping from predators, hunting, gathering food and maintaining fires, and occasionally fighting bears. This, combined with their healthy diet of purely meat and vegetables, made them probably a lot more healthy than we are today. Fast forward a couple of thousand years, and food is much easier to come by, and life in general is becoming much easier thanks to increasing automation and us just having a much better grasp of the world and how it works. We no longer concentrate all our energy on hunting and gathering, and instead we can spend more time doing leisure activities such as music and art, things like this, and also unfortunately, participating in wars, which, although is bad, it did mean that men had to stay in very good physical condition. In fact, it's only when we get to the modern era when it becomes necessary for us to find a way to stay fit, because our lives have just become so much more unhealthy and we've actually become quite lazy due to industrialization and then technological advancements after that. Our better standard of life has made us quite soft. It's this realization that we no longer look like those Greek marble statues that we have in our museums, that people start to look for ways in which they can maintain a good, strong body. And that's where the gym or gymnasium begins in the 1850s. This was a place, an indoor space that not only facilitated but encouraged exercise and sports, and was the basis of the gyms that we know today. So before we go any further, let's actually consider the term gym and what it actually means. As mentioned previously, a gym is a place that facilitates exercise and houses the equipment needed for these activities. If gym isn't a term you are familiar with, it's interchangeable with the likes of health club, fitness club, fitness centre, and sometimes also health spa. The difference being that each one of these establishments usually has some different equipment, classes, or facilities. So, for instance, I would consider a gym to be somewhere that predominantly has free weights and cardio machines and no other facilities, whereas a health club for me is somewhere that will have swimming pools, saunas, lots of facilities and classes like that. Now let's quickly break down different types of gym. This first one here is the no frills budget gym, which Royals gyms are. So they're very basic, as you can see from a picture here. That's a typical image of a gym. It doesn't have any luxuries, no swimming pools, saunas, or even fresh towels. It's all very basic, and that allows the price to be very low. A key feature of these no frills gyms is that you are not tied into a long-term contract. Actually, you can just pay by direct debit every month, and if you want to cancel your membership, it will happen immediately. And that's very appealing for many people who don't have a large amount of money but still want to be healthy. At the other end of the spectrum, we have the fitness centers or luxury gyms. The names aren't too important. The main thing to get between the difference is that there's a lot more facilities at this type of establishment, and you have access to personal trainers, sometimes nutritionists, saunas, all sorts of things, but obviously you pay much more, and even these prices can get so much more expensive. Now let's actually apply what we've just learnt to the pre-scene. Royals, being this budget chain of gyms, has both positive and negative aspects. The fact that they're budget means that they are much more appealing for a larger amount of people, but budget does have negative connotations. Being cheap seems to be associated with being unreliable and low quality, but Royals have done quite well to dispel this. They have been careful not to compromise with their equipment by making sure that they establish very good relationships with a supplier of state-of-the-art gym equipment in Highlandia. And this gives a high quality feel and experience to their members, despite the price being low. Now let's take a closer look at the health and fitness industry and how it's made up. Now the key point to take from this little section here is that the health and fitness club industry has arisen through necessity. In 2016, more than 1.9 billion adults were overweight, and of these 650 million were obese. So you can already see there are huge numbers of people that really do need to go to one of these health and fitness clubs. So there's a huge amount of customers out there. When you also throw into the mix that fitness is quite fashionable these days, especially on social media, you can really see why the global industry is thriving. When we look at the breakdown of where these gym members are, we can see that the US and European nations, they lead the rankings. The US has a huge amount of gym goers, 57.25 million, with Germany, who tops the European nations, with a mere 9.5. There's a huge discrepancy here. The UK has 8.8, and Japan leads the Asian nations with 4.1 million members. A few more industry figures I would like to point out to you. One of the main ones here is that Europe has just recently overtaken the US as the largest fitness market in the world, which is quite astonishing when we think back to those earlier figures in which the US had some 57 million members to Germany's 9 and the UK's 8 million. You will probably be unsurprised to know that the world's largest health clubs are based in the US. So we have Planet Fitness, which has revenues of 1.2 billion euros. We also have Anytime Fitness, which is the industry leader with over 3,000 gyms across the globe. And the gym chain with the most members is Planet Fitness, with 3.5 million more members than second placed 24 Hour Fitness USA, all of these based in the US. So now that we know all of this information, how exactly would we go about using this information to get more marks in the exam? Well, what we can see is that there's a strong correlation between the evolution of technology and this desire to be fit and healthy. Lots of this has to do with the increasing knowledge and information around the dangers of obesity and just living an unhealthy life. All of those huge gym chains that I mentioned earlier, such as Planet Fitness, 24 Hour Fitness, those have all only existed for the last decade or so, which is the same amount of time that we've really had social media. That's no coincidence. Something I would like to point out to you is this extract down here that I've taken from one of the news articles in the pre-scene. As you can see, by the end of 2017, 40% of Highlandia's population were regular gym members. But that doesn't really mean anything to us if we don't know about how that matches up to other countries. So down here, I have found the penetration of gym memberships within some of the largest countries in Europe. As you can see, a penetration rate of 14% puts Highlandia in the same kind of ballpark as the United Kingdom. And if the United Kingdom and Highlandia are anything like the Netherlands or Sweden, then there's still some room for growth. So that 2% growth a year that Highlandia are expecting is realistic and could definitely happen. It also could be a lot higher if it's anything like the UK's growth, which is around 6%. That's a huge figure. So to conclude this section, again, I would just like to reiterate the huge influence of eating trends and fitness trends on social media, which is definitely fueling this industry. With no signs of stopping, who knows how dramatic the effects of this fitness trend will be. So that's the introduction to the health and fitness industry over and done with. We can now move on to looking at the particular customers and the ways these companies market to them. Astranti case study courses include a wide variety of learning materials that have been expertly crafted to ensure that you have the best possible opportunity of passing your exams. The study text comes in two parts. The first covers every aspect of the exam from every possible angle and teaches you exactly how you can prepare for it. We go into great depth on the pre-scene analysis, how to manage your time, and precisely what the exam will involve. The second part is a condensed, manageable textbook covering all the key theories and models you must know in order to pass. We also provide course videos in which CIMA tutor and case study exam expert Nick Best gives you advice and tips on all the key areas of the exam using his many years of experience to give you precise instructions on what you need to do to pass this paper. The pre-scene analysis is a paragraph by paragraph video guide to the pre-scene, picking up all the key issues from examining how they relate to the company in question and what you need to do with that information. Accompanying the pre-scene analysis is the industry analysis, which compares the fictional company to a similar real-life organisation, giving you all the necessary information regarding the industry, ensuring you meet the expectations of the examiner. By joining our case study course, you will have access to 5 full mock exams, which will be marked by a qualified and experienced team of markers. You will see each mock exam marked on the same checklist, so you can compare each mock and see in which areas you continue to fall behind, enabling you to clarify where and how you need to improve. Our masterclasses are live, all-day exam-focused events that are hosted online and are recorded for students that cannot attend live. Masterclass 1 focuses on the keys to passing the case study exam and takes you through topics such as what the examiner says you must do to pass, skills of effective planning, and the 10 models most likely to be examined on the current pre-scene. Masterclass 2 is the revision masterclass and focuses on subjects like what the examiner is saying are students' key mistakes, identifying your key areas for improvement to score more marks on the exam day, and much more. If you complete the full course and still don't pass the real exam, you can continue with us to the next course at no additional charge. We're very confident that people who complete the full course will pass, but as long as you continue to complete subsequent courses, you can also continue at no additional charge, ensuring this is the last fee you'll ever have to pay for passing your exam.